Hello, everyone. It's your friend Tristan Miller. I'm just here to inform you that I'm recording my first stand-up comedy album and special on May the 4th in New York City at Caveat at 4 p.m. You can go to the link in my bio on my social media platforms, or you can go to caveat.com, go to May the 4th, and buy tickets there. Highly recommend that you get them early as they are cheaper that way. Also, after the show, I'm going to go. Phantom Menace is playing in theaters. So I'm going to take a big group to go to the nearest AMC or whatever Cineplex and go see my favorite Star Wars movie. I'll say it. I'll say it with my full chest. My favorite Star Wars movie in theaters again. So hope to see you at both things. If you have to pick one, just pick my show, please. I would like to sell out the house if possible. Anyway, love you. Hope to see you soon. Okay, bye-bye. Coming soon to theaters, podcasts, film reviews, and so much more. Available at tristanmiller.substack.com.
And now, our feature presentation.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Focus Testing, a podcast about movies where we make a movie. My name is Tristan Miller, and joining me today is Glen Tickle. How are you, Glenn?
I'm delightful.
I think so.
Can't get this iPad at a good angle.
You know, what can you do?
There's not a desk in this hotel room. I'm just propping it up on pillows on the bed. So I apologize for the unflattering angle of myself.
Well, here's the thing. No need to apologize. And also, it's kind of fun because I'm also on my bed at the moment. So it's like a slumber party, which I love.
Hell yeah.
You know me. I love big sleepover energy. I love a slumber party. I love late night chatting. Now, Glenn, you've done this podcast before, but it's been a while.
It's been a minute.
So basically, I have started kind of doing a little bit of an interview. So you are a comedian. Why?
Correct.
How?
Why?
How? When?
Desperate need for attention, I guess, is the most succinct answer.
Okay.
I mean, I went to school for film, like the boring answer that I've given 1,000 times. I went to school for film. It's a difficult industry to break into.
That's true.
I was having a hard time getting film work. I was getting passed over for writing jobs, but I was losing those jobs to comedians. And I was like, well, I understand how jokes work. Like all the movies I made in college were comedies. I've always been a big comedy fan. It's like, I'll just go do that until I get a writing job. And then I don't have to do it anymore. But like once I started doing it, I was like, oh, this actually is better. This is way easier. You don't gotta assemble a crew. You don't gotta edit. And then with the rise of social media, you kind of do now. But for a good couple of years, pretty straightforward.
But even that editing is still like less comprehend. Like having even tried to edit a short film, fuck, it's annoying.
Yeah,
it's like films
it's a
are
lot. I mean, I did
in the ass.
I did the animation in 2020. I animated a sketch called Apple Gravity. It is 3 minutes long and took literally the whole year. And it's mainly because I had to reteach myself how to use the software that I was using. And then that software broke, so I had to learn a different software. Where it's like, it's the kind of thing where it's like, well, if I was doing this all the time, it would not take a year. But to just do it as like a weird little hobby, it takes a long time because you're like learning as you go.
It's true.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Yeah. So you were writing comedy films. Obviously, I mean, you and I are pretty good friends, so I know the answer to this. But like, who's your comedy movie go-to guy?
Comedy movie go-to guy?
Yeah, like who is your when you're writing those scripts and stuff when you're making movies?
Kevin Smith. I've talked about it before. Like, I feel like people think I'm overstating it when I tell them that like Clerks changed the direction of my life in a way that it's like. I mean, I love the movie, but it's like such a dumb one for that to be the thing.
Sure, yeah. I mean,
because I talked
I
about
mean,
it a
Slacker
lot.
changed Kevin's fucking
Yeah, and I've
trajectory.
gotten to talk to
So
him about it
yeah.
specifically, where I told him, I was like, you mentioned how like Slacker was this free. I'm like, that's what Clerks was for me. Somebody let me borrow it freshman year of high school, and
Mhm.
it's like, because I've always loved movies. But if you grow up watching Jurassic Park and Star Wars, you're like, man, movies are incredible. But you have to be some kind of maniac to watch Jurassic Park and think, well, I could do that, you know? But Clerks, it's like,
Literally a
well,
maniac. So yeah, that makes sense that I would.
you can just you can just do this. You can just
Yeah.
get some of your friends and shoot it on 16 millimeter in the place where you work. And
Yeah.
well, shit, let's just do this. And then that's what I ended up like wanting to go to school for. And I did, I went to school. I learned how to do it. I made some movies, and then upon graduation, turns out if you get a contract major film degree from a mid-tier New Jersey state school, Hollywood is not exactly throwing the doors open upon your release. I was doing like a ton of freelance stuff, but it wasn't interesting.
Mhm.
Which, as a cat with ADHD, is a real deal breaker.
Mhm.
There's a place in Florida. I think they might have a few other campuses, but when I was looking at colleges, there's a place called Full Sail, where it is like a tech school for filmmaking, where
Huh.
you go is like a 14-month intensive program, and they had like a really high job placement rate. It was like pretty expensive, but it was over 1 year instead of four, but you still leave with a degree. And I was seriously considering this place until I went down there for a visit, and they're like giving us the tour, and we're with a small group. And they're like, so the way it works is the beginning of the program, everybody pitches their movie idea. As a group, you guys decide what one you're going to work on, and then everybody ends up with a different job on that
Mhm.
project, and that's what you're working on the whole time you're here. And I was like, well, what if your project doesn't get picked? And he's like, then you like do sound on somebody else's. Like, oh no, thank you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No, 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 no.
No
I'm
interest
not.
in that.
Yeah, I'm not spending a year in Florida to work on somebody else's movie.
I mean,
Um,
that's, I think, pretty reasonable of you.
yeah, which especially for how intense that place was. Like when I was in college, I ended up going to beautiful Ramapo College in beautiful Mahwah, New Jersey. Um,
Mawa.
Mahwah, and
Have I ever done this
I
character for you? This is non-committal Borat. My person I've been seeing.
my situationship.
Yep, exactly.
Um, But like when I was in school and we're doing a lot of projects, if one of my
Yeah,
friends is like, "Hey, can you come run the camera?" I'm like, "Happily, yes, of course."
of
But
course.
the
Yeah.
thought of only doing it for other
Mhm.
people's stuff, insane.
Yeah.
I, and this is, I mean, a thing we were talking before we started recording, but a thing of um, basically like the new hour I'm working on is essentially me dealing with what I see as shortcomings in my personality,
Mhm.
and that's one of them. It's like I have friends who work in the entertainment industry who were like, I'm just happy to work on movies. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll be a grip, I'll be a PA, whatever. I'm just happy to be here. I was like,
Mhm.
oh, that's not me at all.
No.
If I'm not if I'm not working on my own thing, I have
What
no interest,
what is stand-up
and
if
that's
not
all
the
stand up is.
ultimate
Yeah, yeah,
expression of auteur theory?
narcissism.
Yeah, well, both. Well, they're both the same thing when you think about it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. To impose your will upon any sort of, creative force, I believe is, inherently a little selfish. And if you look at it that way, I have a hard time with it. But, I'm a little bit more woo-woo than you. You recently drove
Yeah,
me. Uh,
considerably.
yeah, we were recently driving all the way, like halfway across the country together, and we really fell into a Mulder and Scully sort of dynamic pretty quick, where I'm like, "Yeah, but what if Bigfoot's real?" And you're like, "It's not." And I'm like, "But what if?" And you're like, "No,"
There's a
which is
bunch
fair
of
enough.
Bigfoot stuff. up here. I'm in Vermont right now. There's
Let
a
me tell
lot. I
you,
passed a
but
lot
Bigfoot
of.
is real, and he doesn't pay enough tax.
I saw a lot of Bigfoot stuff, and I'm
We
not.
got a
I'm
Sasquatch, the 1%.
yeah. I'm staying at like a lodge near a lake up here. I'm not even a little bit worried there's a Bigfoot out there. If I have to go to my car for something in the middle of the night, Bigfoot's so far down the list of things I'm worried about.
That's fair enough. He's not like here's my thing, I don't think I'm the kind of insane bitch that's like, if I met Bigfoot, we'd be friends. Like, I'd just be like, "Hi," and he'd
I
be like, "Whoa, oh," or
I
whatever.
guess I guess I understand that and agree because that's how I feel about all animals.
Yeah.
Um, if I
Whereas
see an animal in the like if I walk to my car and there's like a deer, I say hello
Mhm,
and then I say I am not a threat to you.
mhm.
And I know they don't understand that, but
I would
it's the same
argue
thing.
that they do because it's the vibe you're giving off. Because if you go, "Hey, hi," they can kind of understand that, like, I don't know, the energy is not
It
threatening.
seems dumb, but it did pay off in a huge way once. So I live a reasonable walk from my parents' house. Uh, and one day I was walking. It's the middle of the night. I was leaving my parents' house, walking home. I'm walking down the sidewalk. There's like a big stretch on that walk where you're like, there's not houses. It's just a field that you're kind of
Mhm,
walking through on either side. I'm walking through that part. There's still a road and sidewalk. I'm not like in the wilderness,
mhm.
but there's just not. It's like vacant spots. I'm walking past this part, and a skunk comes walking down the sidewalk the other way at me,
Yeah.
and then we both see each other. I stop. I go, "Hello, I am not a threat to you.
Mhm.
I'm gonna cross the street. You just go on ahead." And he turned around, which I was worried about because that's when they like dip
Yeah,
the tail and spray you. And he
yeah.
just like turned around and walked the other way. I was
Here's
like,
the
okay, he
thing.
believed me.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I feel like most wild animals are like, "I don't wanna have to fucking deal with this."
I don't want to deal with this guy. He's
Yeah,
so much
yeah,
bigger than me.
yeah. That's the
He's
thing.
huge. He's goofy looking. I don't have time for
The thing, though, I will say about I was thinking about this last night, actually, because I saw, a clip of someone here in New Zealand, bumping into a couple of orcas and responding in a way that I found deeply baffling, where he was like, "Oh, hello. Oh, hello, beautiful. How's it going?" Like, really, like and I was like, if I saw an orca, I would throw up. Like, I am so scared of those motherfuckers. It's like those and bears, and I'd rather deal with a bear than an orca.
I mean,
But, oh,
I've encountered bears.
mm,
I went to SeaWorld as a child. The documentary was not out yet. Do not hold this against
I
me.
do not yeah.
Uh, so I saw Shamu at SeaWorld as a child.
I always thought it was Shamu.
I don't think it is.
Shamu? Shamu, Shamu, Shamu.
Um, um, did not feel
Shamu, more like
threatened,
ShamWow.
but did not feel threatened by the big whale. I went whale watching on my honeymoon
Mm,
with my
a
wife.
double
Again,
brag.
it was on a honeymoon, so that's probably who that's with. And we saw
Yeah.
they warned us. They're like, "Look, we got to be realistic. Sometimes we go out there, we don't see shit. There's no
Mhm.
guarantee you're going to see whales. We're going out to the ocean. That's where they are. You might see some. We cannot guarantee you there will be any whales. There were
Yeah.
a shit ton of whales. There were so many whales, and
There's
one of them kept going back and forth under the boat, and I was like,
mm,
"Am I'm about to get Moby Dicked right now. Like this
Moby
went
Dick
when they were
down.
far away. Oh look, whales, how majestic." And then when they get real close to the not very big boat, you're like, well, I shit, I don't want to be here
Yeah.
anymore.
For sure, for sure, for sure. And with me with, like, orcas, it's like they're pack animals, they're hunters. They're like the velociraptors of the sea,
Yeah,
and
I
they're
don't want to
so
get very
scary.
mean to
Ugh.
death either.
Yeah.
Like
Mm-mm, mm-mm. Whereas, like, a bear as well, like, I think a grizzly, I famously said as a young person, if I was between a cliff and a bear, because 'cause I'm also afraid of heights. If I was between a cliff and a bear, I would just shoot myself. And then someone said, "Why wouldn't you shoot the bear?" And I said, "Here's the
was my
thing,
immediate follow up.
of course, if any and got a huge laugh. Whatever, I got you. So funny to dunk on Tristan, whatever. But if
Yeah.
you look up news articles of bears found with bullets in stomach, there's
Oh,
so
for sure.
many.
Yeah.
Any kind of handgun that I
know,
can easily off myself with is going to do nothing to a bear unless I get a really
correct.
lucky shot. You know?
I don't know anything about guns really, but
Mm.
I know bears is big and they thick.
Yeah,
Um,
they can survive multiple gun wounds. It's
yeah, yeah.
speaking of bears briefly, and eventually we'll get to the premise of this podcast, but I was watched Grizzly Man a couple of years ago, the Werner Herzog documentary, and I can't help but think, like, what would Timothy Treadwell have done with TikTok? Imagine
Probably,
get eaten, but imagine the
yeah.
virality.
Like that would have been one hell of a live.
Yeah.
I don't.
That would have been one hell of a live or dead, actually, in this case.
Yeah. Do not watch this TikTok.
Do not watch this TikTok. I must tell you, it is absolutely horrible.
Um, I've encountered a bear. Several, I imagine. I don't think it was the same one. It's like various points over the years because they live in New Jersey. There's bears in
Yeah,
New Jersey, like they're around.
yeah,
Um, it's been a while since I've seen one in my neighborhood, but that like every couple years, there's just a bear walking around my town.
sure.
It's a pretty rural area. There's like wooded areas nearby. Um, Well, I want like, you know how sometimes you're driving, you're from, Minnesota, so you're familiar with, like, a deer will just jump out in the
Yeah.
road?
We say in the
That happened to me
Midwest,
once, but it was
literally,
a
look
bear.
out for deer. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah,
also a common problem in New Jersey, but one time I was driving and a bear jumped out in front of the car,
that's fucked.
and it's so much bigger than a deer.
Yeah.
It
Yeah, Glenn famously.
and it took like, I'm so hyper aware when I'm driving
Yeah,
that a
I've
deer might
seen.
jump out in front of me.
Mhm.
So, like, I'm expecting, okay, there might be a deer.
Yeah,
But then when you're expecting a deer and you get a thing 10 times the size of a deer and it's moving pretty quick and it just runs out in front of your car, it takes a couple seconds to like process what it is. And
absolutely.
that's what I think that's how Bigfoot happens. People see a big thing that they're not expecting and they're like, well, obviously it's a Bigfoot. Because
Yeah,
if it was a bear, I would just recognize it as a bear, but you
bec
wouldn't. You don't know what bears look like.
because it is a Bigfoot.
This is a bear.
It's a Bigfoot.
This is a big old bear,
Uh, are you ready for some movie trivia?
constantly.
Constantly. First question, and I'm interested to see if this has changed at all for you, but a question I ask everybody, which is, what is movie?
Oh, movie is Buckaroo Banzai. Um,
I guess it's definitely
that is
changed
the
since last
platonic
time.
ideal. That's the platonic ideal of movie.
The platonic ideal of
Um,
movie is Buckaroo Banzai. Okay.
when I forget how long ago did I really do it? Like,
Like 4 years ago, my man.
I would say it was not more than 6 years.
No.
Uh, because
Maybe
that
I'm
it's
gonna go
been.
back and I'll find your answer. And if I swear to God, if it's actually Buckaroo Banzai again, I'm gonna
I don't think it
scream.
would. I mean, it's been my favorite movie for coming on 7 years.
Yeah,
Because my younger
famously.
daughter was very little when I saw it the first time,
Mm,
and I was 15 minutes in, was like, "This is the greatest piece of media I've ever experienced."
yeah. It
Um, so if we did it before then, it would have been. But
was
I mean,
2021.
yeah, that was only 4 years ago,
Yeah.
so
Who's just say I'll go
it
back.
still would have been my favorite. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Then I
oh,
would
I
say,
forget. I just had this conversation, not to plug, but on my podcast, Daddio,
yeah.
which I host with Ricky Clore. We had
Mm-hmm.
our pal Kevin Ryan to plug his podcast, Tyrant in Training.
Yar.
He's a screenwriter over in Ireland. Um, it's a fun show. He has people on, and like the premise is you are now in charge of your own island. You get to pick where the island is. We're going to set up a system of government. Like, how would you do this?
That is
It's
fun.
fun. Uh, and we were talking about movies that like change genre halfway or like challenge the conventions of their genre. Like Psycho goes from
Yeah.
just like kind of tense financial thriller to slasher flick. The big jump in Oz from like black and white Kansas, color Oz.
The Last
Um,
Jedi, etc.
your favorite film that you love.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So I was trying to think of good examples of movies that like take a big swing like that
Mm.
since the podcast. Because like when you're trying to do it in the moment, you can think of like a few. But it's like, what's the best example of not like thing that people are like, I don't even know if this counts as a movie. You know, there is. I forget if it's just called Clock. Are you familiar with this? Someone did a
No.
24-hour supercut of clocks in movies that sync to the times of like an actual 24-hour period.
See,
So
that's
you could,
cool.
in theory, pop this bad boy on at midnight, watch it straight for 24 hours, and every minute it's a different scene from a different movie.
You could do that just
And
as a clock. Get a little like tablet,
yeah,
put it on the wall.
and there's like thought behind it's not just like whatever clip is 11:59 that's going in there. Like they do it by time of day. So
Mm.
like 2 a.m. versus 2 p.m. It's not just like, oh, the clock says two, that's
Hmm.
fine. They would try to do it. I've obviously not watched all 24 hours of this thing, but I'm aware of it as an art project. And they like tried to group together. It's like going to be raining for a couple scenes in a row to make it look like it's all one thing.
Yeah.
But there's not a narrative. It's not like a story,
Yeah.
but it's a 24-hour movie made up of other movies. So like, is that movie? Um,
It's definitely art.
there's um, it was made specifically to be the longest movie ever made, but somebody like with webcams and stuff tracked something being manufactured in a warehouse in China and then shipped over like a 2-month period. And it's just every step of this process, no editing,
Ay,
just
ay, ay.
real time. And it's like, again,
It's definitely
is that
doco.
movie?
It's giving doco. I don't know if it's giving movie. You know what I
It
mean?
is. I mean, like you said about Puck, like it's art. Like I see the intention of just like, what's the longest movie ever made? We can beat that. We can do it. The longest is 2 weeks. We're gonna
Also,
make a 2-month movie. And
also, it's neat
I
to like have a clock thing going. I mean, like that's really cool and funny, kitschy.
yeah,
I think that's really cool.
Clock is fun in a way that like I'm never gonna sit down and watch 24 hours of it, but
No,
uh, it is. I forget what museum it's currently at in New York, but like you can just
Museum of the
go.
Moving
It's
Image.
just playing on a loop, a 24-hour loop, and you just like dip in and check it out.
That's great.
Um, it's probably MoMA if I had to guess. Um,
Oh,
so I'm just trying to answer the question of what is movie. I'm trying to think of what is not movie. You
that's
know,
an interesting way of going about it.
I mean, I
Um,
answered it perfectly
Toaster
with
isn't
movie
moving.
is Buckaroo Banzai.
Movie's Buckaroo
Toaster
Banzai.
isn't movie,
Toaster isn't
but
moving unless
Brave
it's
Little
brave.
Toaster is
Mm-hmm.
movie.
So what I'm gonna say is we're gonna move on to the next question.
Sure.
What
You want to talk
movie?
about weird art projects more instead?
No, I like
Uh,
it, but I wanna get to the game as well because I've
it's like the
received
thing of with when like the net
pornography.
came out and people are like, "Well, this isn't stand up." It's like
It
it
is
is.
standard.
She's standing on stage and telling jokes. That's what
Yeah,
stand up is. You
that's what they
clearly you don't
do.
like the jokes for personal reason. You should probably sit down and
Have
deal with
you
on your own level. But
listened or read to Jesse David Fox's comedy book yet?
mhm. I've
Great.
done
His
both of those things actually, which is
his
rare for me.
whole section about Nanette is fantastic.
Yeah.
I think. And is an incredible piece of art in as much as it did change the landscape of stand-up comedy and what it could be very quickly.
The net
Um,
is great, and the art history joke stuff in it hilarious. It's like genuinely
Mhm.
some
They
of
know
the
what they're
funniest
doing.
shit. But the all the idiots were like, "Oh, it's not stand up because
Yeah.
uh, feelings and yelling about being mad." It's like, yeah,
What do you think
man,
Bill Dirt
process
Burr
your
does?
emotions.
What do you think
It's
Bill
like, yeah,
Burr does? He's just yelling
yeah,
about shit that makes him angry.
it's great. But also, our mutual boy David Lynch makes the same point
Oh,
about
yeah.
Van Gogh in uh, Catching a Big Fish that Hannah Gatsby does in the net about uh, he like Van Gogh's not great because he was depressed. It held him back. He would have been greater.
Mhm.
And it's like
I think
correct.
the only time he probably wasn't, depressed is when he was painting,
Yeah,
you don't have
it
to
is
suffer to show suffering.
as a mentally ill guy. It it's yeah, it's like I've had. I mean, I they're not new. I have ADHD. Old news.
Old news.
Recently realized also autism. But around the same time, I started actually getting treated for ADHD for the first time.
Yeah.
And so I've been on Adderall for a little over a month, and it's been helping, and it's infuriating how much it's been helping
Yeah, dude,
because
once you
that just
actually
means that shit could have been helping the whole time. And
Yeah, bro.
I look back on every part of my life
Of course.
where it's like, I joke a lot about like, oh, I didn't have a ton of direction in college or like high
Mhm.
school. I barely got, and it's like, well, yeah, but like if I could sit there and read a book for more than 5 minutes, it probably would have been fine, actually.
Bitch, same. I feel that way all the time. Lately, I've been like, I'm so unfocused because number one, I don't have a job at the moment, or a day job. So like my time is just me, and so the day is just like blah. But also on
Yeah.
top of that, I'm like, oh, it's because I'm not drinking like a pot and a half of coffee a day. If I had some sort of like ability to
Oh,
focus my
that's
mind at all.
the my prescriber for that is a nurse I keep calling saying doctor, but he's a nurse practitioner
I
that's
like to say
prescribing Adderall.
psychopharmacologist, even if it's not accurate because it's fun to
Yeah,
say.
yeah, yeah. He does great work. Shout out to Marco.
Hello.
But he told me, he's like, one thing you should with when you start taking Adderall, you should cut back on your caffeine.
Yeah.
And I had already done a bunch of research before our first appointment of like what to expect. It was like if
And
I
you have
do
autism, you
get a
say?
prescription, if I do get a prescription, like what's that going to mean? And a
Mhm.
lot of stuff I found was like, do not drink coffee while you are taking Adderall. And it's like, ah, man, I really kind of love coffee a lot. Uh,
Mhm. There's always
that
decaf.
might that might I mean, not I would rather, address the serious medical
Of
issue
course, yeah.
than continue drinking a beverage I enjoy. But
Mhm.
that was like, oh, that's good. That's if I really do have to stop drinking coffee, it's gonna be rough.
Yeah, I hear you. Though, like, when
But
I
the
Mhm.
but Marco's like, so when you start, just so you know, you have to like cut back on caffeine. So like, don't drink as much coffee. If you drink soda, like cut back on the ones that are caffeinated. I was like, oh, cut back. And he's like, yeah. I was like, well, I was reading a bunch of stuff and they said like, don't drink it at all. He's like, you shouldn't. But honestly, if I told you that, if I said don't drink any more coffee, would you? And I was like, I mean, yeah, probably. He's like, just cut back, all right? I was like, fair.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Um,
fair. And then also, like,
but also the original prescription was like take the first one when you first wake up and then take the second one around lunchtime.
Mhm.
And I was doing that for the first 2 weeks. And I was like, oh, this is a normal person Adderall schedule. This is for
Oh, sure, yeah.
this is a 9 to 5 Adderall schedule
Yeah,
that we're
yeah,
good
yeah, you
to.
had to readjust.
Yeah, yeah. So I told him after because it's like we're doing it 2 weeks at a time while we like dial in the dose. Um, I was like, can how much flexibility is there with timing on this? Because that's not like I don't need to be good at 11 a.m. I don't
Mhm.
Can I take the first one at noon and then the second one at like dinner time? He's like,
Mhm.
I mean, if you want to be up till 1 in the morning, I was like, Bud, I am like I'm frequently working pretty late as a comedian. And he's like,
Mm.
I guess that makes sense. He's like, yeah. The one thing he did, he's like, don't take it to stay up.
Oh, yeah, that's drug abuse. Don't do that.
Take it later if you're gonna be up,
Mhm.
but don't be like, well, I got to drive all
Yeah.
night, so I'll just pop another out. He's like, don't do that. But he's
Yeah,
like, you
don't
can find the schedule that works best for you.
yeah, don't take methamphetamines just to stay up to drive or whatever.
Yeah, don't do
Um,
that.
yeah,
So I will like make myself coffee first thing in the morning, and then I take an
mhm.
Adderall a couple
Yeah.
hours.
I hear you. I was so infuriated when I started on my mood stabilizer where I'm like, "Oh, I can focus better. I'm not as mercurial." But also somebody who has pretty bad focus issues and then also has bipolar disorder, it's like, fuck, I wish, because they refuse to prescribe me any amount of Adderall because an upper can trigger a manic episode. But I was like, my brother in Christ, I'm already drinking like I used to drink 12 cups of coffee a day. Like
Yeah.
I'm already doing this to myself. If I could just have something that would level me out and not force me to drink that amount of caffeine, I'm already fucking there. Anyway, um, next question. I'm gonna do two more.
Hit me.
And this is mostly because you're pivoting brand wise, and I think it's appropriate because you keep talking about your massive hog on stage. Um, what movie makes you horniest and it cannot be pornography?
Okay. I mean, people are expecting me to say Bucker Banzai because it's my favorite, and I talk about it all the time.
But yeah, I don't
It's
think that
not. It's not
it's not
that
a horny
horny of a
movie.
movie.
I mean, Jeff Goldblum's there and
Um,
everything he does is horny kind of inherently, but
it's
like
Jeff Goldblum is so good looking, but having just rewatched Jurassic
Jurassic
Park,
Park, yeah, for
look at him in Jurassic Park and look at him in Bucker Banzai, and you're like,
it's not the
no
same
one,
man.
no one wants to get with Dr. Sidney Zweibel. He is such
No.
a dork in that movie. He literally so Bucker Banzai and Pee Wee's Big Adventure shared a costume designer,
Yeah,
and it shows. So Buckaroo in the end
absolutely.
credits when they're like dance walking through the Sepulveda Dam, he's dressed like full on gray Glenn plaid suit, white shoes. He's dressed like Pee Wee Herman.
Hmm.
When Jeff Goldblum shows up to join the Hong Kong Cavaliers, he is dressed in basically the cowboy costume that Pee Wee puts on the movie set to like hide. It's
Hmm.
like the big weird red shirt, big wide hat, and it's like no one looks at that. It's like I gotta get that Jeff Goldblum. It's not the fly Jeff Goldblum in Bucker Bond.
Now,
Um,
time out. You think
Ellen
Jeff
Barkin looking
Goldblum
great,
is hot
but it's not.
in The Fly? You think he's hot in The Fly?
Yeah, when he's
Okay.
naked in a pod, for sure.
That's
Not
crazy.
when he's a fly, you dang ass freak. Uh, before that,
No, but even
and
then,
slightly after. So like,
yeah, when he's like when his fingernails are coming off, that's when I really like you pop a boner.
there's a for sure turn.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, I can kind of get behind it, but he's so crazed in that I think,
I'm
obviously
trying
there's
to
a
think.
certain appeal to him going, "Ooh, let me show you all this stuff, my weird supercomputer, I'm playing the piano. Wow." I get it. Sure, whatever. But also like he's so to me so off-putting because he's like someone who is not listening to what anyone says. Does that make sense?
I mean, I find that very
I mean, fair enough. Okay,
um
whatever.
because I
So,
do the same thing. So it's like you're right, Jeff Goldblum. We are hot. Cool. Um, God, what is the horniest? So
what movie makes you horny? It's not the horniest movie. You watch it and you're like,
yeah,
damn.
I'm trying. So I'm trying to think. I'm what it was. There was a movie I saw pop up on a streaming service.
And then you
And it's
popped
like,
up
oh, I should watch this. And it's like, I can't because it'll be too horny.
because you have kids
Yeah,
and you don't want them walking in.
I forget what it was. It was something that is probably not actually that horny. It's just like from when I
Complicated,
was 13.
complicated
Like
instinct. Is that anything?
it.
Or ooh, what about this?
It's
A
like a movie from the
psychosexual
late 80s that
drama
was
called Basic Instinct, but it's about programmers. Is that anything?
Oh, the horniest of languages. 10, go to dad Uh, Teen Witch. It's Teen Witch.
Okay, okay.
A movie I've generally not watched since I was probably 11,
But
but I
you
do
remember
remember.
getting
I remember feeling some feelings with Teen Witch,
okay,
um,
okay.
and that's the one with like, oh, I don't know if I that's a when you're on the road movie to watch. That's not a
Sure,
watch it at home with the kids around.
sure,
And
sure.
again, it's I don't remember what about it. I just remember like that movie was on HBO constantly when I was a kid,
Mhm.
and like when I would be over at a friend's house with HBO and it was on, just like hitting so right for little 11-year-old Glenn. Um, so it might be that.
Okay.
Uh,
I
yeah,
like
it
that
might
answer.
be. I just want to frame it as anybody's like, oh, that actress was 16 when they made that. I was like, I was
Yeah,
younger. It's not
yeah.
weird. And again, I'm
Oh,
not saying I'm putting it on now, getting all horned up, but
no, no, no.
uh,
To your
for
memory
that
that
answer, for
mhm.
current 41-year-old adult man horny movie, um, it might just be the first couple minutes or the butt shot at the beginning of Lost in Translation is hard to beat.
That is true, that's fair enough.
And having seen that movie in theaters, it's just Scarlett Johansson's butt in like sheer underwear, 30 feet tall. It's like we're off to a tremendous start here,
Hell
Sophia.
yeah.
You're doing great work. Yeah, I want to say the movie's great. After that
Regardless,
scene,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. Um,
But it does enhance it. It's a great way to start, anything
yeah.
really. Final question is normally what makes Austin Powers so sexy, but since you've already answered that one time, as per the suggestion of friend of the pod, Danny Aarons, they suggested, well, what about you would Austin Powers think is sexy,
Hmm.
right?
Don't know if he would be impressed by my big prank. Um,
Damn it. Filthy. Disgusting. Vile.
um,
Filth.
I think he
Yeah,
would get.
baby,
I
that
think
crank that out.
he would be aroused if I were to play backgammon with Man of Mystery Austin Powers. I think he would get kind of turned on with how good I am at
Okay, so your competence at backgammon and perhaps
it.
other
Yeah.
things.
Well, it's like in Bond movies, they'll like play Baccarat or whatever, and ever
Mm,
like it's the dumbest, simplest game, but
mm.
rich dickheads like think it's cool and sexy. Um, but it's like from a game design standpoint, Baccarat sucks. There's nothing. There's nothing. It's just the dumbest. Is it going to be higher? This game sucks. James, play a better
Baccarat's
game.
one of the three men in the fire from the Old Testament, right?
Sure, because
Okay, that's a
Bert. Um, I don't know your
yeah,
Old
I know.
Testament joke.
It's fine.
Oh, and on Easter weekend, I failed.
I don't know. What can you do?
But backgammon kicks ass as a game,
Yeah, no, it's
and I'm
fun.
really good at it.
Yeah.
I'm better at Dr. Mario, but I
I was
don't
gonna
think
say,
unfrozen man from the '60s. I don't know if that would register for him.
is it time for a new Austin Powers film? They keep bringing it up every
I
time
mean,
he's
he hinted to bring up Jesse David Fox again on the
yeah,
interview that he did on Good One. Hinted that it's
yeah,
happening. Came short of like
good.
official announcement.
Yeah.
Um,
I
is
think
the
it's
world
worth it.
ready? Am I ready? I don't
I
know.
think so. Having
I tried to rewatch
recently
the first one
mm,
a couple years ago and did
mm,
not enjoy that experience.
that's so interesting because I did the same thing and I thought it held up really well, except for Will Ferrell and Brownface. That's always my thing. I'm like, meh, shouldn't have done that.
I'm not a
But
big mark for Will Ferrell.
nah. Um,
Sometimes really sometimes it's genuinely really stuff, but
I'm realizing
I like default Will Ferrell yelling guy is just so unappealing to me.
yeah,
Um,
I can agree with
but
that.
yeah, I might have to give it another go because I loved it at the time. Like I saw that
Mm,
bad boy in theaters a couple of times. Like this is the funniest shit around. Um, Back to being horny. When I worked at the movie theater, The Spy Who Shagged Me came out. There was a cardboard standee of Austin Powers and Heather Graham, who was in like a crochet, like a knit red dress,
yeah.
and it was like right by the ticket booth where I would just be standing taking people's tickets for like hours with nothing to do but stare at Heather Graham on that standee. And it was like we have to move this. Like I can't live like this.
Cut to you, a la John Voight and Megalopolis. Want to see this cool boner I got?
It is because it's pre-cell phone days. It's not like I can like
Yeah,
dick around. It's like I'm standing at a little ticket booth waiting for people to hand me a ticket. There's nothing else to look at other
I'm
than this
so
giant cardboard
horny.
standee of gorgeous Heather Graham in that
Mhm.
movie and life. But that shot in particular is like this. I cannot
Of
operate
course.
under these conditions.
Yeah.
Um,
Are you ready for our word?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sweet as bro.
I hope it's a synonym for dick.
It's charge. CHARGE, charge.
Okay.
So for my I have a couple places my mind goes, but obviously I defer to the guest because I'm from the Midwest and trying to be polite here, but I have a couple notions if you want me to like take charge, if you will.
Well, let's
Isn't
hear
it
it out because my first thoughts are Pikachu
okay?
and Wilma Flintstone and Betty Rubble.
Okay.
Um, when they would take, I believe it was Wilma and Betty, they would take Fred's credit card,
Right,
run out
yeah.
of the house, and yell "do do 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 do, charge it," uh, and then they would go buy a bunch of stuff with
I
Fred's
should
credit
I
card.
should give Flintstones another go. That's a pretty fun joke. It's like not hilarious, but it's good.
Yeah, it.
Um,
I mean, it's a living, but
yeah.
I was trying to explain the Flintstones to my children because they genuinely only know those characters as cereal mascots.
That makes sense. Why would they have seen it's not like you're on Boomerang all the time.
Yeah, there's not
So,
like a current iteration of those shows. There is I don't know
mhm.
if they pop up on Jellystone at all. That's like the big Hanna-Barbera universe cartoon. I think it just ended, but they've not watched it. Um,
I feel
but
like
they know like Fruity Pebbles. They're familiar with the brand. It
funny.
would be like finding out that Tony the Tiger had a wildly successful sitcom 50 years ago that you just never knew. You're just like, the cereal guy? And you're like, no, I mean, he does that too, but
This is
you
just a
don't know
side
his early
hustle.
work. There were
Yeah.
movies like
Yeah.
John Goodman played this dude.
This is
And it's like,
before the
what?
sellout.
And then my kids were like, well, can we watch it? And I was like, I'm sure some of it's on YouTube.
It's also
And
not
they just
like
did not care at all.
it's not really for kids. Like it's appropriate for
No,
kids, but it's not for kids. You know what I mean? So in
correct.
my mind, with mhm.
It was The Simpsons. It was like an animated, just a
Yeah, it was the
sitcom for
Honeymooners.
adults that happened to be a cartoon based on the
Yeah,
Honeymooners. But they're like, what if
yeah,
they were cavemen?
yeah. Which is a fairly strong premise between them and the Jetsons. So with the Pikachu
I'm more of a
and
Jetsons man.
yeah, yeah, me as well. But I watched a lot of both of them because we had
Yeah,
Cartoon Network off and on, and so whenever we had it, I would just
Jane, not Jane. Jane's the wife. Judy Jetson, early childhood crush
oh
for
yeah,
me.
Rosie the Robot for me. But
Kind of wanted to
having
be Elroy.
Yeah, of course. Two things about the Jetsons, if I may. Two. First one, there's that iRobot parody from Robot Chicken that really holds up, and when they do a voiceover for like a true crime thing and goes, "Meet George Jetson, his boy Elroy," makes me laugh every time.
It's funny. It's funny.
And then the other thing was having recently watched So I Married an Axe Murderer, Mike Myers going,
Whoa, man.
yeah, exactly. Jane, get me off this crazy thing called love is so funny to me. That movie is 10 out of 10 for me. But with the
It's fun.
Pikachu and the Flintstones, obviously I feel like a crossover would be fun. Um,
Ooh, you gotta think. So I gotta wipe something off my screen here.
mhm. And I
I
feel
don't know a
like
ton about the world of Pokemon.
I know enough that we could
Um,
probably get through it if you wanted to go that route.
I know I'm more like I'm sure if tested, I would know a surprising number of the original lineup. Um, I played the first game, and the cartoon was big when I was in high school, but my mom was like running a daycare center out of our house basically, so it was like
Mhm.
on a lot. Um,
I wasn't
but
allowed to
I just know
collect
he is like
Pokemon
he's
cards.
electrical based, so he's
Yeah,
got
he's
like
an
charge.
electric mouse. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't allowed
Um,
to collect Pokemon cards because my mom was like, "You're already doing
because
that
of the
with Star Wars
devil.
stuff." No, and we can't afford it. She was just like drew a
Well,
hard
that's
line, and I was like, "Thank you for letting me know this is the reason we're doing this." And she's like, "Yeah, we just like we don't have the money for that right
I
now."
have a bunch of friends who like play Magic,
Oh yeah,
and they're like, "Oh, did you play? You seem like you would have played." I was like, "Oh, if I was not poor, I probably would have loved it." Yeah.
yeah. I'd already
Um,
gotten into
but
Warhammer as well, and my mom was like, "You can only pick one of these stupid nerdy things to
yeah,
for us to give
it
you a
was the
birthday
thing of like,
present
"Oh
about."
yeah, I'll buy like a deck of Magic cards and like we can play." And they're like, "No, you got to keep buying them forever." It's like, "Oh,
No,
I don't think this one's for me then. Sorry."
yeah, no. So what if Red, Wilma and Betty and Barney all get sucked into like a vortex after Dino discovers Pikachu and runs after him. They get sucked into a vortex and somehow they all end up in like a third cartoon space.
Um,
Is that any good? Because my
do
charge,
I have veto power for
yeah,
anything
absolutely.
specific? Because I just saw the Minecraft movie,
Is that what it is?
and I would uh, I would rather jab a 4-inch nail into my thigh than watch another movie where somebody gets sucked into a portal to another world or has to chase an orb of any kind. Because
Okay.
I didn't know that Minecraft, the movie, was directed by Jared Hess
I don't know
until
who that is.
I was at the drive-in with my children to see it, and the title card came up, and my whole mood changed. I went from like, yeah, I'll sit through this movie for my kids. I love those little fools. I'll just sit here with my wife, eat some popcorn, sitting in lawn chairs. This will be fine. And then I find out that Napoleon Dynamite's very own Jared Hess made this thing. I was like, this is gonna be incredible. I was wrong. This is good. I don't know that much
Yeah.
about Minecraft, but this
No.
is gonna be great. And the first 10 minutes of it are, but then they get sucked into Minecraft, and it's like, this sucks.
Okay. So no
Um,
portal. Then so I would say then my idea for
but
charge.
here's my pitch
Oh, okay.
for a combo because, like I said, I don't know that much about Pokemon,
Hmm.
but were they always around? Like, would there if Pokemon, then
So
were
prehistoric Pokemon.
Pokemon around prehistoric? Like, are
Yeah.
there Dino Pokemons the way there are Dino Transformers?
Well, famously, Pokemon
Because I
evolve.
think that kind of kicks that.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think prehistoric.
Where instead of dinosaurs, it's
Mm,
just different Pokemon.
yeah,
And I understand the plural is just Pokemon, but
I believe it's Pokemon.
I believe I can't stop myself from saying Pokemon. It's
That's fine.
I think it's
Pokemons.
just as I became and look, like I said, I played the game. This was like a big thing when I was young and I understood it. And when people would say Pokemon, it's like, "Oh, you don't get it, Dad." But as I've become a middle-aged dad myself, I'm just calling them Pokemon.
I still think
Um,
Pokemon.
I'm gonna call all my kids' video game systems Nintendos forever,
That's
whether it is
great.
or not.
I like prehistoric Pokemons. I think then it should be like some sort of like kind of discovering fire. They discover like the first couple of Pokemon and tame them and that story, maybe. We're getting like leaning into like origin stuff though, which I feel like.
Well, I've not really watched any of the later
Okay, so what
transfer.
about this, Glenn? What about this?
Hit me.
My mind with Charge was like, what if it's about a battle in the Revolutionary War? And
With Pikachu?
no, just like
Okay,
Charge, da 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 da, Charge.
sure.
If you want to do that,
The
and we,
Light Brigade. That's not revolutionary. When was that? What's the Light Brigade? What are those fools get? What's the Light Brigade get up to? Where are they
I don't
charging?
know. I don't know who that is or what that is. I was homeschooled. Um,
I
but
feel like that would actually make you more inclined to know what that
Light
is.
Brigade.
The Charge of the Light Brigade.
I'm gonna look it
It's a
up right now.
poem. Do or die comes from that. It
Light
is not ours to question why it is ours to do or die. Do
Brigade.
and die, maybe. It's a poem about these guys who were like being commanded on a charge that they were absolutely just going to get straight up marked by doing. So like, well,
Yes.
the least we can do is like write a kick-ass little poem about it.
It's British light cavalry against the Russian forces during the Battle of Baklava in the Crimean War. I
There's
mean,
no
it could
way
be
in
a
hell. You could
there's
have
no
said, Glenn, list 100 battles that you can think of. We would have approached the
no,
Crimean War.
not even a little. Um,
Some of them, it would have gotten fiction really quick. I would have gotten probably 10 to 20 historical military conflict. And then I was like, the Battle of Yavin. I don't know.
well, I think then what about a historical
So Revolutionary
drama?
War, what are we charging in the
Um,
Revolutionary War?
or
And
what
can Pikachu be there? I'm kind of married to
what if
this Pikachu.
I like having our little guy there. What if
He doesn't have to
it's
be the star, but I want him involved. He can be even just, a non-creative EP on the
what if
project.
what if it's this? What if it's rather than the Revolutionary War, it's the Battle of Hastings in 1066, and
Okay,
the French are coming in to England, and the reason they win is because
yeah,
they got Pikachu. The Saxons come in and they what about that? Like
I'm
some
into
sort of
it.
like mythical dragon beast, but it turns out they're all just Pokemon, you know?
I like it.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember more about the Battle of Hastings because genuinely,
Mm,
I was about to say 1066 before you do, and I think that might be it. I think that might be the
okay.
whole
I'm
of
gonna put in
the
Battle of
knowledge I can
Hastings.
pull here at 1:12
Yeah,
a.m.
it's the
Vermont time.
um
Is that Charlemagne?
no, it's far before that.
No,
William, Duke of Normandy,
William
and
the Conqueror.
yes, William the Conqueror, I believe. Yes,
Are you
sometimes called
sure?
William the Bastard. Yes, absolutely.
Um, Billy B. He didn't kiss Charlemagne in that war. Didn't they smooch a little bit?
Probably. That sounds like
What's Charlemagne's whole deal? When was he around? Probably like 1065. I don't
you
know
know he
anything. Is the problem?
here's
Um,
the thing, if we're hey, Glenn, real
yeah.
quick, real quick. If we're adding Pikachu into this fucker, we don't need to know shit about shit.
Well, the thing is,
What just
like
imagine William the Bastard shouting, "I choose you," though.
it's just a thing. Like I'm sure we talked about it on the Magical Mystery Tour of Minnesota. I desperately need people to think that I'm smart in a way that is completely separate from whether or not I actually need to be smart.
Yeah,
Um,
true. And I mean, this is
it is
again a
like,
real Scully Mulder thing,
yeah,
whereas I'm
it
like,
is. It's again. I acknowledge it as a flaw, but I need him. I need him to think I know stuff about Hastings.
Okay.
And I don't. I'm surprised I put William the Conqueror. I'm mad that I got Charlemagne wrong. I just started hosting like a pub trivia night
I love a trivia
locally,
night.
and I explained. I like was talking to some of the players, and they're like, "Oh, like have you done?" I was like, "Oh yeah, I used to play trivia a lot." And they're like, why don't you anymore? It's like because it's not fun for me. Actually, like I
Mhm.
take winning it too seriously to get any pleasure out of it. Because like
Yeah.
if we don't win, it's not like, oh well, I still had a nice night with friends. It's like I'm now mad at the people on my team for not winning, and it's like
Yeah.
I don't like that. But
That's
hosting is great because I don't have to do that. It's
Yeah. I really loved hosting the trivia night I did because I get to write the question as well, and that was always really fun to do.
see,
But
I would like writing questions, but I don't want to have to. Is the thing.
Well, a lot of the questions were what can Tristan think of on the way to
It would all be
the
about
thing.
Bucker Banzai Mr. T.
A
If
lot of it
anybody
was
wants
about
to
Randy
hire me,
Newman. A lot of it was about David Lynch. A lot of it was about
yeah.
dinosaurs. So, like,
If
you
anybody
know,
wants Alf trivia night, oh boy, would I love to write you those questions.
see, here's the thing, Glenn. What I would do is like do okay, 90 sitcoms as a category, and then I just be like, okay, let me put like 2 Alf questions in there out of 5, and then just make
I did
3 other
offer them.
ones.
So there's a the guy. It's a guy. Bush comedy. He asked me to do this, and like
Mm,
he's devised the game and how it works. So I'm working off of his system. I have some liberties to take, but I just did one. We're doing another one next week. So it's like, well, let me like I'll stick to this formula for now, see how it goes. But there's like a name that tune round
mm.
where I go team to team. The team picks a decade, and I hit shuffle on a playlist from that decade. They have to name the song. I did tell them, I was like, if you guys want for because you win tickets, and then there's a raffle at the end of the night. So the better you do, the better your chance of winning a prize. Like if you guys want, we can do a bonus, not decade, but for instead of winning one ticket, you can win 2 tickets if instead of picking a decade, you let me shuffle my playlist of songs that I listen to before shows.
That's funny. That's good.
And no one called me on it. No one's like, sure. How weird could it be? Like, like if you're not going to recognize Frank Sidebottom's version of the 1812 Overture, that's not this move is not for you.
Yeah.
If you're not familiar with the deep cut My Little Pony soundtrack albums, then get out of here. One
Okay.
kid did, so I played one as like background music while I was scoring one of the rounds, uh, and it was Adriano Celentano's "Prison Colon Ensign and Cusel." So I asked him, I was like, "This is not an official question, but can anybody tell me what language this is in?" And some kid knew it, and I was proud of him. He's like, "It's not one. It's all made up. It's just nonsense." He's like, "Hell yeah, it is.
That's
It's great.
fantastic.
That song kicks
Um,
ass. Prison Colon Ensign and Cusel.
it's
It's
so
really good."
good. I would say this. What about this? What about this? So William the Bastard and
Oh, right. We're doing a podcast about a movie. What's
yeah,
he
and
doing? King
Harold
Scott
Good and
or
King Harold, they're like about to gear up for battle, right? They're
who
like,
are we rooting
"Grr,"
for
but
here? You think?
this is what I'm getting to it, Glenn. What about
Okay.
this? They're both gearing up for war, and it's really tense. And then all of a sudden, there's like a monster. It's like a monster movie. The people are getting
Oh,
picked off on both sides for the first like 20, 30 minutes. And you're like, oh my God, this monster. And then it turns out it's like Dragonite or it's like Machamp. And wild Pokemon are eating both Anglo-Saxons and Normans. And they have to come together to defeat the Pokemon. And you think, oh, this is going to be an alternative reality where they like are friends, and then they just aren't, and then it ends with the Battle of Hastings.
I'm wondering if what if we do like a shortcut,
Okay.
more of like a series of vignettes of Pokemons through the ages
Sure, yeah.
and their influence on humanity over time.
I think that'd be good. I think then
So
starting Mhm.
we start cavemen,
Yeah.
not cartoon Fred Flintstone, more like maybe even go
Quest for Fire.
2001 apes finding the obelisk, but the
Mm.
obelisk is a Pokeball.
I
Out
think
pops Pikachu.
I don't
Or I
think
guess Charmander makes
I
more
would.
sense. So out pops Charmander,
I
gives them fire,
I
Prometheus
th-
style.
I think that's good, but I also think that like a Pokeball is a piece of technology that is later developed. So unless like someone gets sucked back in time, it doesn't make logistical sense. With
Well,
that
that's
being
the thing
said,
where
it is a Pokemon movie. But like if you had like a rock type Pokemon as the obelisk, that could be fun. Like a
like a
Geodude.
Geodude.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing where it's like I'm sure this is already established in Pokemon lore that I do not.
Uh quick comment on that. Who gives a fucking shit?
Not this guy. Tell you that goddamn
Exactly.
much. My dad. So my parents are cleaning out their house, and my dad found like a big box of Pokemon stuff. He's like, "Is this yours? Do you know anything about this? Like, is it worth trying to like yard sale any of this, or do I just toss it?" And I was like, "But I got no idea,
You
man.
should absolutely
Um,
yard sale that.
I was not.
It'll make
I was
some
not
kid
the
happy.
Pokemon. I was not the Pokemon one of your many
Mm.
children." Um, and he's like, "Oh, I thought it was." I'm like, "No." My brother Keith had like the cards and stuff. Um, like I said, I played the first game, watched the cartoon. That was about it. But is it a chicken and egg thing with the Pokeball and the Pokemon?
Bitch, I don't know.
Mon came first for sure, and
I,
then
I think
somebody
Pokemon came
figured out
first.
we can trap these guys in like a weird TARDIS dimension.
I think that's correct. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. But I
what
think mm,
but what this book presupposes is what if it didn't?
okay.
What if Pokeball is the obelisk? It falls from space.
Mm,
Out comes Charmander. That's how humans get fire.
mm-hmm.
Oh, and then when our boy Pikachu arrives,
Over on
it's a
Tesla?
magical day. 1700s
Oh
Philadelphia,
yeah, of
baby.
course.
Benny Franks out there in the rain like a fucking idiot. And
Pika!
everyone's like, "Oh, I invented electricity. I'm so smart and cool. I have so much syphilis. I have a weird sleep
He
pattern."
also got the syphilis
Um,
from Pikachu. Little known
yeah,
fact.
yeah, for sure. Mr. Mime shows up and gives it to him. Um, although, look, I think the most middle-aged dad thing about me is that I do every couple of years reread Benjamin Franklin's autobiography uh,
Fuck.
because it's very funny, and I don't think enough people talk about it. There's a whole part of the book where he talks about how on one of his trips to England, he realized that they only have gutters on one side of the street, so they get filled too quick, and then all their street lamps fog up with soot like after a couple hours. So he's like, God, these fucking idiots. When I get back to America, gutters on both sides. We're fixing the street lamp thing. And he included it in his autobiography. He's like, I want the world to know that that was me. If everyone's like, why is there gutters on both sides of the street in America, but in England they just have one? He's like, because of Ben, motherfucker.
If I
I'm
may,
writing
that's
this down
very
for
Glen coded.
posterity.
It's very Glen coded.
I love it. Um, he's like, I need the world to know what I've done.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So yeah, so we get Charmander uh, falls from the skies from the
Mm-hmm.
Pokeballs, pops out, gives apes fire. I know that's probably not historically, but you don't know for sure because they
It was a
didn't
long
write it
time
down because
ago.
that part wasn't invented yet. Ooh,
Um,
who is there a pen? There's probably a pen one by now. There's probably a pen Pokemon. But again, I only
some sort
really
of
know
inky one. Yeah, I think
I only know the first batch.
that's fine. We got Squirtle. How can Squirtle
Well,
be involved?
that's
The Great
it's
Flood.
it's just
Gonna let you sit with that. Gonna let you sit with that, Glenn. For those of you listening at home, Glenn has turned beet red laughing at his own joke.
As we all know, squirt is stored in the balls.
We could. To be fair, now I'm laughing at your joke.
Thank you.
Uh,
I've always said we're not gonna get
Squirtle.
true gender equality until we call men brunettes and call all ejaculate squirt. That's my stance.
Any liquid that comes out of the human body is squirt.
Yeah, it's squirt. Yeah, you can rather than say, "Oh, I'm gonna bust up in that thing," be like, "Daddy's gonna squirt." This is the most
What if-
sexual I've been on a podcast in a very long
Yeah,
time.
this is This is the new answer for the horniest movie. What if we do Squirtle? This will tie into your boy Randy Newman. Squirrel pops up, Louisiana, 1927,
Yeah.
27, and then
Yeah.
Randy Newman writes a song. Maybe look, I know Randy Newman wasn't in Louisiana in 1927.
No.
It's just a song by the flood.
Yeah.
But what if he is?
What if his great great grandfather
Then
was
what
and a
if he
guy?
was?
Yeah. But what if it was Louisiana? Trying to think of Pokemon Randy Newman lyrics. What? What? Marceau, Mr. Mime?
Marceau. Mr. Mime's my favorite Pokemon.
That's fucked up of you.
It is.
That's
I don't
deeply
know why
upsetting.
people have such a hard time with this answer.
Fucking hate that.
Mr. Mime.
Shoot him in the back of the head.
Because it's just a guy. He's just like
he's just a guy. He was so disturbing looking in the Detective Pikachu, but I liked him. It's like my grandmother once looked at my Jabba the Hutt figure and said he's so ugly, he's cute, and that is what Mr. Mime is like.
I love Mr. So when Pokemon Go came out,
Pokemon Go to the polls.
When Pokemon goes to the polls. When that came out, originally there were like geo-locked Pokemon where like you could only get them on certain continents.
Yeah, it's true.
We had the fucking bull one here, which is some bullshit is what that is.
Toro.
Thanks for nothing. Fucking Toro ass
motherfucker.
Cow ass Pokemon.
Moo.
Europe got Mr. Mime.
Zutulor.
And it was like, look, like anybody, that was a fun couple of weeks walking around playing Pokemon Go, you know? But I'm like, well, I'm not going to go to Europe. Yuck. I can't justify going to Europe to get.
Here's the thing, Glenn.
A fucking Mr. Mime.
You were just in Hungary. You could have probably gotten a Mr. Mime then.
Yeah, but I wasn't playing the game anymore.
Well, you could just download it back
just to like grab one.
My buddy Tyler is still playing.
Added trading in, and you could just get them. It's. I
True,
was already over at that point, but it's like, well, now I don't need to go to Europe to get my beautiful son.
I think Eevee should be involved because I love Eevee. She's probably my favorite. I think Eevee should be King Charles Spaniels instead.
Ooh.
You know, just little yippy guys.
Yeah. But yeah, I think Mr. Mime needs to teach Marceau.
Yeah.
How to mime it up. Not remember Bucker Banzai himself, Peter Weller, when he was doing RoboCop, was working with a mime coach for like how to move like a robot. And it's great because everyone on the crew is like, you don't need to do this. This is, you don't.
RoboCop wants an Oreo is all I can think right now, my man. I'm so sorry. I can't. I'm desperately trying to listen to you, but I'm remembering RoboCop was. The fact that he denies it so vehemently.
Like, you're putting a lot of work into this that we don't think you really need to. And he's like, no, I need to. And I don't remember that mime's name.
Well, mime, terrible thing to waste.
I would love it if that was if. I think for the movie, it's got to be Marcel Marceau because he's the or like Shields and Yarnell because those are like the ones that people know.
Yeah. to be sure.
rather than fucking RoboCop's mind.
I think
But
Bulbasaur.
it would lead into Robo wants an Oreo.
Robo wants an Oreo. I think Bulbasaur should absolutely, because we have to have our main 3 starter Pokemon kind of early on. I think
Yeah, you
Charmander,
gotta
and
get those
then
basic bitches in there.
yeah, and then I think Bulbasaur would be good for like when the colonists arrive in North America.
Okay, I was gonna go
Mhm.
biblical.
Oh yeah, that'd be good as well.
What if God's like, hey, fucking Adam, leave Bulbasaur alone?
And then Bulbasaur they fuck? Is that what you're getting at? Glenn, it is too
I
late.
wasn't. Now I am. But
But instead of
because the
the
whole thing
tree.
is like you can't eat the fruit from the tree of the knowledge
Yeah.
of good and evil. What if they're
Yeah.
like, fucking just let Bulbasaur chill, and then Eve can't leave him alone,
He's too
and then
cute.
they get kicked out of the garden
I
because of
like that a
Bulbasaur.
lot. I like that a lot. That's very good.
I mean, I think it is funny, but if the rest of the movie is supposed to be historical, I don't know if I want to
Oh,
include
well,
it.
that's because, well, what are you saying, that didn't happen?
Correct.
Oh,
That's exactly what I'm saying.
that's fucked up of you on Easter weekend. Fuck.
On Easter weekend,
My God. On Good Friday for you.
no, it's Sad Boy Saturday over here now.
Okay.
Um,
Hey, look at that.
right,
We're on the
Good
same
Friday,
day.
Sad Boy Saturday, Swanky Sunday. I don't know.
It's just Easter. It's just Easter Sunday. But yeah, okay. That's fair enough. So Bulbasaur, I think.
But I like it. I like the. Does that take? Explain what you want Bulbasaur to do in your.
Oh, sure. It's just like helping indigenous people with the growing of the crops of like at the first Thanksgiving or whatever. It's just like there because he's like a grass type, and I guess like that would be
Okay.
helpful.
See, I was worried that you were going to say that he is helping the pilgrim.
No,
And
no,
I was
he's
like,
like
I think
he is like
that.
part of the colonization is them looking at Bulbasaur going, oh wow, he's helping growing crops. We're gonna steal all the Bulbasaur. Like, much like they killed all
Okay,
the
I'm on
buffalo,
board.
they are hunting all of the
They
Bulbasaur
stole
now.
all the Bulbasaur.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm
That's
on
why they're
board.
not
I'm
around
on board.
anymore. It's
I
because
was
white
worried
people.
that in this pitch, Bulbasaur will be overshadowing the indigenous population. But I
No,
like
no,
that they're
not at
working
all.
together
Oh
and that he
no.
is just also getting his ass colonized.
Because
I
like
mean, I don't like that he is, but I
yeah.
like it as an idea. It's
Because if we're
sad
going
if it,
back to like ancient
but again,
history or
Bulbasaur's not
whatever.
real, so I guess it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's true. Bulbasaur is not real.
But what
I
this
think
book supposes is what if he is?
what is it? I love how when Pokemon Go came out as well, in New York, it was all Pidgeots and Rattatats because it's all pigeons and fucking rats. And I
Yeah.
think they should cut to that of like the Great Flu epidemic in the 1920s in New York, and it's just a bunch of Pidgeots and Rattatats.
What if Rattata is Splinter?
Okay, so now we're getting a little far afield here, Glenn.
But I want to be clear: the Ninja Turtles are not Squirtles. It's just the Ninja Turtles, the regular style.
But here's the thing, I will
But
allow it. I've been
Splinter is
assuming
Rattata.
that this has been like a cartoon for a while, but I will allow it if we get the Ninja Turtles in the like 80s makeup,
Or okay, hit me.
you know, in the 80s makeup, like green screened like into the animated thingo.
Are you going to be too young for this one? But let me hit you with Biker Rattatas from Mars.
Man, you and I are a
Is
decade
that
apart.
does that do anything for you?
No, I don't know what that fucking means.
You're not familiar with Ninja Turtles knockoff Biker Mice from Mars? There was a
Nah.
real in the wake of the popularity of Ninja Turtles.
Of course, like
There,
Battletoads.
there was a
Yeah.
real. We need to just crank out weird
Abnimals.
animals with like a very specific design.
Yeah. Travis McElroy's Abnimals, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Twisted Mind of Travis McElroy. Homes,
What are the other
habitables.
big ones that people are gonna be mad if they're not in there? Meow.
Meowth.
I think
That's
it was
right.
the Sphinx in the cartoon, right?
I think he was actually, yes. So
There's
I
a
think that's
Meowth
great.
Sphinx, so that's kind of been done.
Is there a
What's another
frog type
cat?
Pokemon? Because I would think
I
doing the
think
7
now, but I
plagues
don't think
of
in the OG.
Exodus would be really fun with Pokemon. And just like
It's
Machamp's
just
the
like a shit
angel
ton
of
of
death,
G-drills
and like
roll
he
up.
just is like um Meowth, that's right. Wobbuffet. Obviously, you gotta get Wobbuffet in there.
What is that?
He's a little blue guy that fucks everything up for Team Rocket because he's not good at his job. He's really cute. He's like a little goo. He's kind of like a Choo Choo from Legend of Zelda. And he goes, Wobbuffet, like that.
That's not a original 151, is he?
Probably not. I was in the cartoon. But
Do you like it because his name sounds like Boba Fett?
yeah, I love Boba Fett.
No, you do.
But yeah, I would say having him would be fun.
Meowth's a big one because of the cartoon.
Yes.
I think the kids go wild for Pikachu. We all know it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the only one going wild for Mr. Mime.
Because you want
If
to
you
squirt up in that
genuinely,
bitch.
if this is like Genie
Don't ignore what
style,
I've
not
just said.
I didn't hear it.
I said because you want to squirt up in that bitch.
Genie style, you can have one real Pokemon.
Mm.
Is it not Mr. Mime?
It's not. It's Eevee.
You don't want just like a guy hanging out
I don't
with
want a guy hanging
Pokemon
around. I
friends?
have friends, Glenn.
Must be nice.
Yeah, I know. If I think a Machamp would be kind of fun to have around. Having like a little twink
Such a
sidekick.
muscle queen.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, but no. Honestly, Eevee. I think Eevee would be really nice. They're so cute. I love an Eevee.
Eevees are very cute. Think about if I would just have
Or
a real ass dog.
I think a Bulbasaur would be fun too. I love it. Like the idea of
My wife
having a
would I don't think if you asked my
Galapagos
wife the
turtle.
question, she would have a genuine answer. I don't think she knows enough
Mm,
Pokemons. She might know Pikachu.
hmm We
I
should
don't
get
think she'd
Raichu
have
in there.
I don't think she would have a real thought out answer, but it would be Bulbasaur.
Bulbasaur rules. It's kind of like having, I would imagine, like a Galapagos turtle in the backyard. And then I think Raichu, he was my favorite growing up because I constantly, as a youngest, was like, well, Pikachu's cool, but what of his cooler younger brother, Raichu, um, was there instead. And it was because also I found a Pokemon card of him at the floor of a restaurant, and I was like, finally, I have a Pokemon card. This one is,
Destiny.
yeah. Other ones that I think people would want to see would probably be Mew and Mewtwo. They're kind of a
Okay.
big deal. Both of those two fuckos. Um, I feel like this. Mewtwo is like obviously like a government experiment gone wrong. I think
Yeah.
it is at this point that Gillian Anderson and David Duchovny
I feel
rock
like
up and do an X
that is
Files about
so
Mewtwo.
yeah, that
And if
is
because
really already in the lore. I know like pretty Area 51 coded.
yeah, and so they just do
Um
that, and then Mewtwo kills Elon Musk using his brain powers, and that's the end of the movie. What do you think about that?
and becomes a hero.
Becomes a hero.
I'm
Eh,
into it.
great. Because at
Are
a
there
certain
any that we
point,
missed?
we got to stop recording this podcast.
Debatable. I'm just trying to think. I don't want there to be like a big one that we missed, and then we hear from legions
the
of
f-
fans.
yeah, the 5 people that listen to this podcast regularly, one of whom is you, I hope.
I feel like the Pokemon homies are gonna be the ones. They'll track it down. You know.
Sure.
I
Yeah.
feel like there's certain fandoms that seek out you saying a thing wrong about their thing so that they can complain to you about it.
I've never heard that happening once ever. Specifically not about Star Wars.
You got to get on social media way more.
I would rather.
Just spend a couple hours a day on it, like I do, arguing about what punching down means. That's what I've been doing lately.
Cool.
Um, um,
And but yeah, I can't think of any.
Cubone, if you
Cubone, that'd
want,
be
like,
fun.
if you want to do
Ooh, ooh,
like,
ooh, Cubone, but Hamlet.
okay,
You know, little skull, to be or not to be.
yeah, I'm
I knew
into it.
him,
Do
Horatio.
you know? Do you know the thing
Yeah,
about Cubone
yeah, I do know the thing
and
about,
how
but
it's so
for the
sad?
listeners,
That's what I'm saying. We can do like the emotional uh, bit of the movie is Cubo doing Hamlet with its dead mother's skull. That's what the bone,
yeah, I
the skull
know.
that Cubo wears as a mask is its mother's skull.
It's so fucking sad and weird.
It's insane that they're like, kids are gonna love it.
It's true. I mean, and they do. I think Diglett should make an appearance during the Industrial Revolution, and they're like doing a bunch of quarries.
It can
What
work
is
in the fluorescent mineral mines of Franklin, New Jersey,
there you go.
the mineral capital of the world, a
What about
title
the
they gave themselves.
okay. Again, you can't pump your own gas. But what about
Can't or don't have to.
can't? It was a law imposed. Um,
It's
what about the
it's
bat
a. I
one?
got gas twice today, once in New Jersey and once in Vermont. Guess which
Brag.
one made my hands stinky? You dingus.
Here's the thing, gas smells good. I'll die on that hill. Gasoline smells so good.
You don't want to sniff it on your hands throughout the
Oh,
day.
I want to smell dinosaur
You
bone.
want to do a couple quick hits.
It's fair enough. Okay. I think that's a lot of the major Pokemon. I feel like,
I think we got the big ones.
yeah. Oh, I guess
I'm
Dragonite.
sure. I'm sure there's going to be some Jinx super fans out there.
Hmm. Dragonite would be killing the St. George and the Dragon. I think that would be that tall tale. But because this has been a great conversation. It's been a very long episode of the pod. I don't want to do and frankly, I'm tired. I don't want to do a lightning round. But what do you have? Daddy O podcast. You got World Crime League special. Anything else you want to
Yeah.
promote?
No. Daddy O
Okay,
podcast, wherever you get podcasts, and look up Glen Tickle against the World Crime League, a name you are not going to remember. It's the first video if you go to my YouTube channel. It's not a
Glen
good
Tickle.
special title. I done made a mistake.
It's funny. I'll say this:
Thank
I'm
you.
currently in God's own country, beautiful Aotearoa in New Zealand, and comedians here they love a long title. Like
I
Chris
do too. I
Parker
mean,
just released a
people just
special
always
last
get it
year,
wrong.
called "Give Me One Good Reason Why I Shouldn't Throw My Phone into the Ocean," which is a very long special title.
It's
But
not that. It's just people will be like, "Oh, what do you want to use as credit?" It's like, "Oh, can you tell them I have a special out called Glen Tickle against the World Crime League?" And then they invariably go up and say the wrong thing.
hmm that's fair. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, but I'm not sorry to hear your voice on this podcast. Thank you for doing it.
Always delightful to chat with you, friend.
Of course. And also I'm going to speak to you now, the listener. Go to tristanmiller.substack.com, subscribe there. Please subscribe to the pay tier where you can get the video and a bonus podcast with Glenn, actually. One of the episodes is called Movie to Fall Asleep To, where he talks about Buckaroo Banzai. That's also available on my YouTube channel now. I've released a couple of the early episodes of that for free. You want to go out there. But yeah, check that out. And thank you for listening. And thank you for doing this, Glenn. Great to hang out with you in a hotel room again, like we did in the old days. We've done that twice together, been on the road.
Yeah, it's always a
Right.
fun time.
Always a fun time.